Chinese guest driver Li Huai started the race from pole flying to the reverse grid roll and took the whole shot to build a strong lead over the pack. The second Chinese guest driver, He Shi, stayed behind and defended his position for 3 laps before Ishan overtook him to get into the battle for victory. As both Li and Ishan entered the last lap, separated by a small gap of 0.6 seconds, Li Huai made a small mistake, which was enough for Ishan to grab the race win. Vicky Chandhok, another guest driver in the second round of Vento Cup, finished third in the race.
Hello and welcome to Pits to Podiums. We're still at the Madras Motor Race Track for the 5th race of the season. The first 2 races of this particular weekend, the 3rd and the 4th race of the championship, have been very exciting with the finest racing action put on display by the race drivers. Let's just hope that the adrenaline rush goes a level higher with today's race. And the top drivers grab the honours. Thus we have the men who matter the most. We're joined here by Mr. Arun Mammen, Managing Director, MRF Tyres, and Mr. Sirish Missa, Head of Department, Volkswagen Motorsport India, to give us a little insights. So let's start with the history of MRF racing, sir.
Well, MRF has been in motorsports for about 3 decades, and it's been a long time, and we started motorsports right in the Sholavaram days, where you had really very basic cars like the Fiats, the Ambassadors who were racing there, and over time we had the bigger cars racing there, and then eventually when we came here, now we are in probably like an F3 car to 1600 cars to saloon cars. And apart from this, MRF is quite active in racing outside the country. We are taking part for the APRC Rally Championship, which covers quite a few countries in Southeast Asia and in Australia and Japan and China also. And that's one championship. And we are also in the 2-liter cars, which we are taking part, where we drive in the Bahrain and then also in Dubai. And in Bahrain, we do the support series for the WEC. And apart from that, MRF has been involved in two-wheeler racing, in motocross, go-karting. So it's really, we are really in the cross-section of a lot of motorsports in the country. It really keeps you on the cutting edge of technology, And motorsports is something which has a lot of passion, energy, and it keeps, there's so much of, I don't know, probably the excitement of winning a race and being passionate about it. So it's come a long way, and probably we are really doing extremely well in motorsports, and that's how we are.
Let us know a little bit about the commitment to development that you have at MRF.
Every stage in our motorsports in MRF, we have developed products in all the categories which I told you, and it also helps in developing tires for the street tires, the street cars, and also the other two-wheeler tires. And we have also developed tires for the Volkswagen, and we have just started a new partnership with Volkswagen, and I'm sure over the course of the period our relationship will go from strength to strength. And
thank you so much. Sirish, coming to you, what are the preparations and bits of development from your side? Because MRF is this year, you're signing in the partnership, joining hands.
Yeah, see, always it's you know, it's the package, everything has to work together for you to get the maximum performance out of the package. So this year when we started with the tires, the tire development, we did quite a lot of testing with the MRF, with the MRF engineers and so on. So for them, this tire, the 17-inch tire, was specifically developed for us, for our series. And so we've had several iterations of tire compounds and constructions and so on, where they've tried different things to get the maximum performance and the maximum life out of it. So while they've been working on the tire, we've had to support them by making sure that the car is able to take advantage of the grip, the extra grip that we are getting out of the tire. So we've had to relook at all of our dampers, we've had to relook at the springs and anti-roll bars, and then just the overall alignment that we normally run with the race car. So with all of this, the relationship, we've been able to get something that performs very well in terms of lap time, and at the same time is very durable. So we've had, like, you know, the normally things that are mutually exclusive, we've been able to get together.
We are most certain that the drivers would also show the same kind of commitment that MRF and Volkswagen have shown towards development, and yes, win accolades for both of them. In the meantime, let's take a look at what the drivers have to say about these tires.
The new MRF tires for the Vento Cup have been really good. I didn't want to push too hard, but even though I pushed, the car never went out of control. We also got the chance to experience the rain tires in Coimbatore. The race too, we had heavy rains, and the tires grip much better than I expected them to.
We have a very slippery surface because it's a new relay track, and yet we're able to do good lap times with these tires. I mean, that's solely, the credit goes solely to the tires. And if at all we're able to gain any form of grip when the car's starting to lose grip because of the surface, it's because of the tires. The tires have been really good.
Guest drivers Vento Cup has this weekend. We also have two eminent media personalities driving as guest drivers in this round of Vento Cup. We have the editor of Evo India and Motorsport magazine, Mr. Vicky Chandhok, with us in a conversation. And we're not going to leave you so soon and so early. You've been a regular at this racetrack.
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate enough to test a lot of cars here, but mostly it's been road cars, and when we drive here, it is to look good for our pictures and for our films. It's not to set lap times. But I do know the track, and actually I think I know the track in the reverse direction better than any other, because I've done a lot of rallies, and in rallies the super special stage is held here, but it's held in the reverse direction.
So you've obviously driven here in reverse and in the regular direction, but not under the kind of pressure that you have this weekend. How's the competition like?
It is a different experience. When you're out on the track alone, it's fine. But when you have all these cars around you, man, it's a thrill, but it's also a lot of pressure, and you need to have racecraft to be able to stay in front, to close the gap, to go for the gap that you see. So it is a completely different experience, and I'm learning a lot.
What do you have to say about the car? I think you're driving this one for the first time.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm driving the Vento Cup car, and I think it's excellent for a junior racing series because all these guys, half of them are youngsters. It's a very forgiving car, so even when it goes off, it's easy to catch it. It doesn't snap oversteer, so it doesn't do a lot of funny things. I've driven the ITC cars, and those are so stiffly sprung that if you make a small mistake, you're going to have a big off. So you have to be really on the ball. But here, you can maybe lose concentration, but you can get back on pace, you can go off track, you can catch it. So, and that's why in the race also you see a lot of guys cutting the corners on inside, outside, all over, and the car is still staying on track. So that way it is very forgiving, and it's a very good blend of performance, safety, reliability, and an equal playing field for everybody.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and good luck for your races. That was Vicky Chandhok, the editor of Evo India in Motorsport magazine, in conversation with us, who's driving as the guest driver in this round of Vento Cup. Time now for a short break. After the break, we have the cars lined up on the grid. All the racing action coming up on the other side. Cars have taken their positions on the grid for the final race of this weekend, the 5th race of the Volkswagen Vento Cup 2016. Where the grid positions in the first race this weekend were qualifying results, the second race had reversed grid rule wherein the top 8 positions were reversed, and this particular race has the grid positions as per the second best qualifying timings. Now, as per the grid positions, Niranjan Todkari starts in the pole position, followed by Keith, closely followed by Ishan, Sirish Chandran and Karminder. In the last race, we saw so much of action for the top position between Chinese driver Lee and Ishan Dodhiwala. We just hope that this particular race is as much action-packed and with full of excitement for all the spectators out here.
The last race of the weekend turned out to be the cleanest one. Niranjan Todkari took a commendable race win by going from pole position to checkered flag without losing his lead throughout the race. This was the first win for Niranjan in the 2016 season, and with this, the Vento Cup 2016 has already seen 4 different winners in 5 races so far. Following him were Keith D'Souza and Ishan Dodhiwala, who also retained their second and third spot on the grid all the way to the finish line.
I'm very happy to win this race. Yesterday I had the same opportunity, but I made a few mistakes and I couldn't finish on the first position. But today I drove flawlessly, didn't make any mistakes, and now I won the race. We had an equally good launch. I think Niranjan had a bit better launch than me. At the start there was no chance overtaking him. Then again the pace was very similar, the gap was maintaining. I did start catching up towards the end, but he didn't put a foot wrong. So I knew Ishan and Karminder were behind me, and I knew I'm fighting with them for championship points, so there was no point in pulling a hasty overtake to overtake Niranjan.
to do. Be right back. We might still happily be surprising the world that calls us new, but here in India we actually have a long history at motorsport, and we are in conversation with someone who's been there and seen it all. We are in conversation with Mr. Vicky Chandhok, who's the Vice President of the Madras Motorsports Club and the Chairman of the Indian National Racing Championship. You've seen the good days, you've seen the better days, you've seen it all. Take us through the time.
Well, I must admit that there's never been a bad day, okay? So it's always good days, but nostalgia and history are all, a very important part of the sport as far as this country is concerned. The Madras Motorsports Club, take for example, started in 1952. We started racing in the 50s at a Second World War unused airstrip on the outskirts of Madras. My father and a whole bunch of colleagues founded the club, used to lease the track from the Navy, and the Navy never used it, but the powers that be that controlled the thing, they said we couldn't resurface it, we couldn't do anything with this unused airstrip. So finally in the 70s, we said, look, let's go out and buy our own property. We started buying this. It took us a good part of about 14 years to get done. In 1976, we had 3 times world champion Jackie Stewart came down, laid the foundation stone for this track. 1989, we had Margaret Alva, who was the Minister of Aviation, who came, inaugurated the actual track, and 1990 we had the first national championship. This is a track that has been built with passion. It's not a commercial venture. It's owned by the Madras Motorsports Club, which the members contribute to it.
Time now to take a look at all the racing action in other categories this weekend in the Indian National Racing Championship.
In the MRF Formula 1600 class, Vikas Anand secured his second win of the weekend by a flawless drive and victory in the third race of the category. Behind him was Anindit Reddy, who crossed the finish line 4 seconds later. Third on the podium was Raghul Rangaswamy. In the ITC class, starting second, Chennai eased past pole sitter Ashish Ramaswamy from Red Rooster Racing when the lights went off and built up a commanding lead. Meanwhile, Narendran, who had won both the previous races, did well to move to third after starting last on the grid and then went past Ramaswamy to slot in behind Chennai, but could not gain another place. Ramaswamy finished third.
Following weekends, I'm just going to do what I'm doing, what I did this weekend, and just carry on with my season like that. But I'm fighting for the championship. I started from second round, missed a couple of races, but have the points gathered up to fight for the championship. So I would not give up any soon. So
it's an exciting race, changing conditions, all sorts of things going on. But third was all the best I could do.
To the end of this episode of Pits to Podiums. Join us in the next episode as we follow the 6th race of the season, the first race of the 3rd round of Vento Cup. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter for all live feeds and updates, and on Instagram for some cool pictures. You can also download our app, the details of which are given on your TV screens. Till then, thank you for watching, and remember, responsibility costs nothing but saves a lot. So be responsible out on the streets.
Midway through the season, the battle for top honours is getting more wild and ferocious, with fresh faces seen on the podium during the second round. Join us in the next episode as the Vento Cup enters into the third round of the season at Madras Motor Race Track.